vanishing, the silent world. Captain Elena Vasquez pressed her palm against the cold viewport of the survey ship Pathfinder. Beyond the reinforced glass, the planet Meridian's edge hung in the darkness like a jewel that had lost its shine. The agricultural colony had been humanity's most ambitious project, a world where 15,000 settlers had spent 8 years transforming barren soil into fertile farmland. Communication had ceased 3 days ago, and now Elena understood why. The silence was absolute. Commander James Porter stood beside her, his dark eyes scanning the readouts on his tablet. He was a methodical man who had served in deep space for 20 years, but today his hands trembled slightly as he swiped through the data. The atmospheric composition was normal. The orbital stations were intact. Life support systems continued to function perfectly. Yet every sensor confirmed the impossible truth: there was nobody alive down there. Elena turned to her science officer, Dr. Yuki Tanaka, a brilliant woman whose calm demeanor had carried them through countless crises. Today even Yuki looked shaken. The doctor spoke quietly, explaining that the biosigns had vanished simultaneously across the entire planet approximately 72 hours prior. One moment, 15,000 human heartbeats had registered on the planetary network. The next moment, nothing remained but silence. The investigation begins. The landing party descended through calm skies toward New Sacramento, the colony's capital settlement. Elena led a team of 12 specialists, each trained for crisis situations. As their shuttle touched down on the landing pad, they found the city perfectly preserved, as if its inhabitants had simply stopped existing mid-action. Lieutenant Marcus Chin examined a playground where swings still moved gently in the breeze. Toys lay scattered across the ground. A child's bicycle rested against a fence, its training wheels still attached. In the central square, outdoor cafes displayed half-finished meals. Coffee cups sat on tables, the liquid inside still faintly warm. Tablet screens glowed with messages that would never be sent. Engineer Sarah Woods discovered the first body inside the administrative building. The colony director, Thomas Brennan, sat at his desk with his hands still resting on a communications panel. His expression was frozen in a moment of shock, his eyes wide and unseeing. There were no marks of violence, no signs of struggle. He looked as though death had arrived between one heartbeat and the next. Dr. Tanaka conducted immediate scans. The results defied explanation. Every person showed the same cause of death: complete neural shutdown occurring within a fraction of a second. Their brains had simply stopped functioning, as if someone had flipped a switch. No toxins appeared in their systems. No disease markers existed. No radiation traces could be found. Whatever had killed these people had done so cleanly, efficiently, and with terrifying precision. The warning. Security Chief David Morrison called Elena to the colony's main communications array. He had discovered something that made the situation even more disturbing. The system had recorded an incoming transmission exactly 1 hour before the deaths occurred. The message had been brief, lasting only 17 seconds, but its implications were staggering. The transmission displayed a symbol, 3 intersecting circles surrounding a central point, rendered in a color that seemed to exist outside normal human perception. Below it, text appeared in perfect English, though the linguistic analysis suggested it had been translated from something fundamentally alien. The message was simple and absolute. It stated that this territory belonged to the Velcrin Empire. It declared that unauthorized colonization would not be tolerated. It announced that this demonstration served as humanity's only warning. It concluded by stating that future human expansion beyond designated boundaries would result in extinction of the entire species. Elena read the message 3 times, feeling ice settle in her stomach. This was not a random attack. This was not a misunderstanding between species. This was a calculated act of genocide designed to teach humanity its place in the galaxy. The Velcrin had killed 15,000 innocent people not because those people posed a threat, but because they wanted to make a point. Commander Porter asked the question everyone was thinking: how many more colonies existed within Velcrin territory? The answer came from their navigation database. Humanity had established 23 colonies beyond Earth's immediate stellar neighborhood. If the Velcrin considered any of those worlds to be within their borders, millions of people might be at risk. Humanity united. The journey back to Earth took 8 days. During that time, Elena submitted her report through encrypted channels. The United Earth Coalition convened an emergency session within hours of receiving her findings. Representatives from every human world gathered virtually, their faces projected on screens throughout the assembly chamber. Chancellor Robert Okafor addressed the gathering with the weight of billions depending on his words. He was a tall man from the African Union, known for his diplomatic skills and his unwavering commitment to human rights. Today he spoke not as a politician but as someone who understood that history was being written in real time. He acknowledged the tragedy. He honored the dead. He admitted that humanity had been naive to assume the galaxy was empty or that other species would respect human lives. But he also made a promise that resonated across human space. This attack would not stand unanswered. Humanity would not retreat. Humanity would not beg for mercy. Humanity would ensure that anyone who threatened human life would learn to regret that decision. The vote was unanimous. Every nation, every colony, every orbital station agreed to the same response. Humanity would mobilize completely. The age of exploration was over. The age of defense had begun. The transformation. Dr. Amara Singh had spent 15 years developing peaceful applications for quantum technology. Her laboratory on Luna had been focused on improving faster-than-light communication and making interstellar travel more efficient. Now, at the age of 42, she found herself redirecting all of her research toward a single goal: making weapons that could protect humanity from extinction. She explained the situation to a gathering of military officials and scientists. The Velcrin had demonstrated the ability to kill from orbit without leaving evidence. This suggested technology far beyond current human capabilities. Standard weapons would be insufficient. Standard defenses would fail. Humanity needed something revolutionary. The solution came from an unexpected direction. Dr. Singh's team had been studying something called quantum entanglement displacement. In simple terms, they had discovered how to move energy from one point to another without it traveling through the space between. During peaceful research, this had seemed like an interesting curiosity with potential applications in power distribution. Now, it became the foundation for a new type of weapon. If energy could be displaced across vast distances instantaneously, it could be delivered directly into an enemy ship's core systems. Shields would be irrelevant because the attack would bypass them entirely. Armor would provide no protection because the weapon would strike from inside the target. Admiral Catherine Wells listened to the presentation with intense focus. She was a career officer who had commanded the defense fleet for 6 years. She understood both the potential and the risks of what Dr. Singh proposed. She asked the critical question: how long until this weapon could be deployed? Dr. Singh answered honestly. With unlimited resources and complete cooperation from every research facility in human space, they could have functional prototypes within 18 months. Full production deployment would take another year. Admiral Wells accepted this timeline and immediately authorized whatever resources were needed. The fleet rises. Across human civilization, the transformation accelerated. Shipyards that had built transport vessels now produced warships. Factories that had manufactured mining equipment now created weapons systems. Universities shifted their research programs to focus on military applications. Every human contributed according to their abilities. Elena Vasquez found herself promoted to Commodore and given command of the new vessel Retribution. The ship represented everything humanity had learned from the Meridian's Edge massacre. Its hull incorporated armor that could regenerate damage. Its shields used adaptive frequencies that adjusted to incoming fire. Most importantly, it mounted 3 of Dr. Singh's quantum displacement cannons. The day the fleet assembled above Earth marked a turning point in human history. 200 ships hung in formation, each one bristling with weapons that had not existed 2 years earlier. They were no longer explorers hoping to make friends among the stars. They were protectors determined to ensure humanity's survival. Commander Porter stood beside Elena on the Retribution's bridge. He observed that they had changed as a species. Elena agreed, but she also pointed out something important. They had not changed by choice. The Velcrin had forced this transformation by attacking innocent people. Humanity would have preferred to remain peaceful explorers, but that option had been taken away. Now, humanity would show the galaxy what happened when you threatened human lives. The Velcrin Empire was about to learn a lesson they would never forget. The reckoning. The hunt begins. Commodore Elena Vasquez studied the star chart projected above the tactical table. 3 months of intensive intelligence gathering had revealed the location of the Velcrin Empire's nearest military installation, Outpost Keeler 7, positioned in the Centauri Reach. The facility coordinated Velcrin operations across 17 star systems and housed approximately 5,000 military personnel. Lieutenant Commander Yuki Tanaka had analyzed every scrap of data about Velcrin technology. Her team had dissected the warning beacon, studied the energy signatures from Meridian's Edge, and reconstructed the attack method. The Velcrin used something called neural resonance weapons, devices that broadcast frequencies calibrated to disrupt biological brain function. Against unprotected humans, these weapons were absolutely lethal. Against prepared humans with neural dampening implants, they were useless. Every member of the fleet now carried these implants, microscopic devices that filtered harmful frequencies while allowing normal brain function. Dr. Amara Singh had insisted on testing them extensively. The results were clear. Humanity had neutralized the Velcron's primary advantage. Now it was time to demonstrate what happened when the playing field became level. The Retribution led the fleet through the final jump, emerging from faster-than-light travel precisely 8 million kilometers from Outpost Keeler 7. The Velcron installation hung in space like a metallic flower, its 6 arms extending from a central hub. Each arm bristled with weapons platforms and defensive systems. According to intelligence estimates, the outpost could destroy 100 ships before sustaining significant damage. The Velcron had not expected humanity to return. First contact. Commander James Porter monitored the communications array as Velcron signals flooded across all frequencies. The translations came through immediately, and they revealed something unexpected: confusion. The Velcron had sent their warning and expected humanity to retreat beyond their borders. The concept that a species would respond to overwhelming force with counterattack seemed to genuinely baffle them. A direct transmission arrived from the outpost. The Velcron commander identified itself as Warlord Kethras. Its voice carried the harmonic tones characteristic of Velcron speech, translated into clipped, efficient English. It demanded to know why humans had violated Velcron space. It insisted that humanity had been warned. It stated that this intrusion would result in the sterilization of Earth itself. Elena authorized her response with calm precision. She spoke clearly, knowing that every word was being recorded by both sides. She acknowledged that humanity had received the Velcron warning. She confirmed that humanity understood the Velcron considered Meridian's Edge to be within their territory. She accepted that the Velcron had killed 15,000 civilians to make their point. Then she delivered humanity's answer. She informed Warlord Kethras that those 15,000 people had names, families, and dreams. She explained that every human now understood exactly what the Velcron Empire represented: a civilization that murdered the innocent to enforce arbitrary boundaries. She announced that humanity rejected Velcron authority completely and absolutely. Finally, she gave the Velcron the same opportunity they had given Meridian's Edge. She told them they had 1 hour to evacuate. The Battle of Centauri Station. Warlord Kethras responded with predictable aggression. The outpost's weapon systems activated, targeting solutions locked onto the human fleet. The Velcron believed they held every advantage: superior numbers, established defensive positions, and weapons that had dominated this region of space for 3 centuries. They were about to discover how quickly advantages could become irrelevant. The Velcron fired first, launching a wave of neural resonance pulses designed to kill every human in the fleet simultaneously. The broadcast swept across the ships at light speed, penetrating hulls and reaching the crews within. Neural dampening implants activated automatically, filtering the harmful frequencies. Throughout the human fleet, not a single person suffered any effect. Admiral Catherine Wells, commanding from the dreadnought Indomitable, gave the order humanity had been waiting to deliver. She authorized unrestricted engagement with all available weapons systems. 200 ships responded as one unified force. The quantum displacement cannons fired their first shots in actual combat. Energy materialized inside the outpost's central hub, bypassing every defensive shield and armor plate. The Velcron had built their installation assuming attacks would come from outside. They had never imagined weapons that struck from within. 6 quantum pulses hit simultaneously, each one targeting critical systems. The outpost's main reactor destabilized. Power distribution networks collapsed. Life support failed across 3 of the 6 arms. In less than 30 seconds, Outpost Keeler 7 transformed from an impregnable fortress into a crippled structure, bleeding atmosphere and crew into the void. The Velcron's miscalculation. Security Chief David Morrison analyzed the Velcron's response patterns with growing understanding. The enemy was panicking. Their standard tactical doctrine assumed technological superiority over any opponent. When faced with weapons they could not counter, the Velcron commanders simply had no framework for how to proceed. The outpost attempted to launch its defensive fleet, a force of 30 attack cruisers that should have overwhelmed any comparable human formation. But comparable was the wrong word. The human ships had been designed with one purpose: to ensure no species could threaten humanity with impunity. Dr. Singh's quantum displacement cannons proved devastating against moving targets. The Velcron cruisers relied on thick armor and powerful shields to survive combat. Against conventional weapons, this approach worked perfectly. Against weapons that delivered energy directly into their reactor cores, armor and shields became irrelevant details. Lieutenant Marcus Chen coordinated the targeting solutions from his position on the Retribution. He watched as Velcron ships simply ceased to exist, their reactors catastrophically overloading from internally delivered energy spikes. It was not a battle in any traditional sense. It was a systematic dismantling of an enemy force that had no effective counter to humanity's new capabilities. Within 20 minutes, the outpost's defensive fleet had been reduced to expanding clouds of debris. Warlord Kethras transmitted again, and this time the harmonics carried something humanity had not heard from the Velcron before: fear. The warlord demanded to know what weapons humanity possessed. It insisted that such technology violated known physical laws. It claimed humanity must have stolen this capability from some other advanced species. Elena answered with cold satisfaction. She informed the warlord that these weapons were entirely of human design, created in response to Velcron aggression. She explained that humanity had spent 18 months transforming grief and anger into technological capability. She made certain the warlord understood that every innovation, every weapon system, every tactical doctrine had been developed for one purpose: to respond to what the Velcron had done at Meridian's edge. Mercy and message: the outpost was dying. Atmosphere continued venting from ruptured sections. Emergency power flickered across damaged systems. Thousands of Velcron personnel huddled in intact compartments, waiting for the human fleet to finish what it had started. They expected extermination because that was what the Velcron would have delivered in humanity's position. Instead, Elena gave an order that surprised even her own crew. She commanded the fleet to stand down. She authorized rescue operations for any Velcron personnel who wished to evacuate. She made it clear that humanity was offering something the Velcron had not offered at Meridian's edge: a chance to survive. Commander Porter questioned this decision privately. He pointed out that these were the same beings responsible for murdering 15,000 colonists. Elena agreed completely, but she also explained that humanity needed to demonstrate something crucial. Humanity needed to show the galaxy that humans fought to protect themselves, not to glorify violence. Humans killed when necessary, but they did not murder the helpless simply because they could. Over the next 6 hours, human ships evacuated 3,000 Velcron survivors from the dying outpost. Medical teams treated the injured. Engineers provided emergency life support. Throughout the operation, human personnel maintained professional discipline despite their anger over Meridian's edge. They were warriors defending their species, not monsters seeking revenge. Dr. Tanaka supervised the evacuation from the Retribution's medical bay. She watched as Velcron wounded received the same care as human casualties would have gotten. Some of the Velcron seemed genuinely confused by this treatment. One of them asked why humans would help their enemies. Yuki's answer was simple: because that was what decent people did, even when dealing with those who had wronged them. The new reality. With the surviving Velcron secured on transport ships, Elena recorded a message intended for the Velcron Empire's leadership. She knew this recording would spread throughout their territory, carried by the survivors who had witnessed humanity's capabilities firsthand. She spoke directly to the camera, her face showing the exhaustion of command but also the determination of someone who understood the stakes. She acknowledged that humanity had entered Velcron space and destroyed a military installation. She accepted that the Velcron would view this as an act of war. She admitted that more conflict might be inevitable. But she also delivered humanity's terms with absolute clarity. Humanity would not retreat behind arbitrary boundaries drawn by species who believed might made right. Humanity would continue to explore, colonize, and expand across the galaxy. Any attempt to repeat what happened at Meridian's edge would be met with immediate and overwhelming response. She concluded with a statement that would echo across the galaxy for generations. Humanity was done asking permission to exist. Humans would show respect to those who showed respect in return. Humans would pursue peace with those willing to pursue it mutually. But humans would never again allow anyone to slaughter their people without consequences. The recording ended, and Elena turned to face her bridge crew. They were all young, most of them having graduated from the academy less than 5 years ago. They had expected careers spent exploring peaceful worlds and establishing friendly relations with alien species. Instead, they had become soldiers in a war they had not chosen but could not avoid. Admiral Wells contacted the Retribution from the Indomitable. The fleet had completed its mission objectives. Outpost Keeler 7 no longer posed a threat to human colonies. The Velcrin had learned that humanity possessed both the capability and the will to defend itself. It was time to return home and determine what came next. Legacy of Fire. The journey back to Earth took 12 days. During that time, news of the Battle of Centauri Station spread across human space. Reactions were mixed. Some celebrated the victory as proof that humanity could stand against any threat. Others worried that the conflict would escalate into a war that might destroy everything humans had built among the stars. Elena spent those days writing personal messages to the families of the 15,000 victims from Meridian's edge. She knew these messages could not bring back the dead or heal the wounds left by such loss. But she wanted those families to know that their loved ones had been avenged, that humanity had proven it would not allow such atrocities to go unanswered. As Earth appeared in the view screen, Commander Porter observed that they had changed the galaxy's balance of power in a single afternoon. Elena agreed but pointed out something equally important. They had also sent a message to every species monitoring the conflict. That message was simple: humanity would meet aggression with overwhelming force, but humans would also show mercy to defeated enemies. Humans were not monsters. Humans were simply unwilling to be victims. The fleet entered Earth orbit to a reception unlike anything in human history. Millions gathered in public spaces across every human world, watching as the ships that had defended their species against extinction took their places above humanity's home planet. They understood what those ships represented. Not conquest or aggression, but the absolute determination to ensure that what happened to Meridian's edge would never happen again. Chancellor Okafor addressed the assembled fleet and all of human civilization. He honored the dead from Meridian's edge. He praised the courage of those who had transformed humanity's grief into capability. He acknowledged that the galaxy was now a different place, one where humanity could no longer rely on the good intentions of unknown species. But he also made a promise that defined humanity's path forward. Humans would not become the monsters they had fought against. Humans would not terrorize innocent species simply because they had the power to do so. Humans would remain committed to peace, to cooperation, to building a civilization worth defending. They would simply never again make the mistake of being defenseless. As the transmission ended, Elena looked out at Earth hanging in the darkness below. Somewhere out there, the Velcrin Empire was deciding how to respond to what had happened at Centauri Station. Other species were watching and calculating their own relationships with humanity. The galaxy had learned that humans were not prey to be casually exterminated. Humanity had written its answer to the stars in fire and determination. Whatever came next, humans would face it with both the power to defend themselves and the wisdom to know when defense was enough. The age of human expansion into the galaxy had not ended with Meridian's edge. It had only just begun, and now every species in the cosmos understood that humanity would never stop reaching for the stars, no matter who tried to stand in their way.